Looks kinda rusty.
I'll go first. It's pretty old. Be careful.
Okay.
Easy now.
You worry too much. I'm not some princess who needs to be coddled. Shit.
Yes, people, it's LokiMan07, and firstly I would like to thank Squaresoft for making this game. They did an excellent job. It's a very, very good game. I have not enjoyed a Final Fantasy game in a very, very long time, and I enjoyed this game. It's a great game. Okay, let's get that out of the window. But there's an issue, which is why anybody who's clicking this video would probably be onto, okay? And I'll be honest straight away. No matter how good I thought the game was, okay? The ending of this game is complete garbage. It sucks. It sucks ass cheeks. It's doo-doo. Okay, right? There's no point of sugarcoating it. But the whole purpose of this video is to get everybody to understand exactly why. I've heard people say things, it's not that, okay? It's not anything that you think, right? It's this what I'm about to explain in this video. Because there is no need to rewrite this game. If you have never played Final Fantasy VII before, if you was to get the Final Fantasy VII story now, trust me, it will work, especially if they rework some things like what they did in this game. If you already have played Final Fantasy VII, which is the majority of the fan base of this particular game, you don't care. You just want to play Final Fantasy VII, innit? Like all that creative, artistic freedom, we don't really care that much about, as long as it's done well, okay? But why has Square chosen this route? We're going to find out today. I'm going to explain today. Let's go. Yes, people. Okay, first of all, spoiler warning. I'm gonna get that out there real fast. If you are somebody who's playing this game right now and haven't completed it, get out of here. If you don't own this game but intend to buy it, also get out of here. Or you can stay and spoil the game, right? But I'm going to go over some things because, as we all know, the ending to this game is pretty bad. Okay, and I'm just gonna go straight to the chase. I've tried to make this video a few times, and I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Okay, because it's a subject that is, you know, kind of not really important, but I guess it's self-important to me. Okay, and I would like to explain what is going on at Square Enix, because I've watched a few people speak on this and nobody gets it. Nobody gets it. Nobody gets why. Think about this, right? Final Fantasy VII is the most successful Final Fantasy game. The game is proven. Why are Square doing this? Okay, and I'm going to tell you exactly why, because nobody gets it. Nobody gets it. They don't understand what is going on with this company and what is going on with this series of games. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to Final Fantasy VIII, because Final Fantasy VIII started what is now considered the general art style of Final Fantasy games. Let me tell you that, look at Final Fantasy VIII, look at modern Final Fantasy games. That is the art style that Square Enix sees as the Final Fantasy art style. Okay, and this art style thing is important, okay, because it's all about creativity and skill and, you know, artistic vision when it comes to making a video game. And I am not a video game developer, so I can't speak for a development team, but what I can do is analyze what is happening before my very eyes. Okay, so let's go on with this Final Fantasy VIII. It is the blandest Final Fantasy world. Where's the cool creatures? Okay, where's that quirky member of the team that isn't a human? Okay, where's that? Okay, where's those tropes? They don't exist in that game. Still a great game, obviously, but I'm just telling you about the art style. Okay, so at this point in time, when Final Fantasy VIII came out, the artistic direction at Square was a lot better, and the quality for the time, get me, was way higher. It's just as simple as that. What did they give us after Final Fantasy VIII? Final Fantasy IX. They didn't think, oh, okay, that's the art style, right? We'll just do that again. We can get it to look even better now, because look how good Final Fantasy IX looks compared to Final Fantasy VIII. Way better. Right? It was the last PS1 Final Fantasy game, and they knew what they were doing. They had everything ironed out, and that was the best they was going to get out of the machine. They could have easily made Final Fantasy IX a polished Final Fantasy VIII artistically, but like I said, creativity is all about risks, and I think Final Fantasy IX is one of the best Final Fantasy games, easily. Okay, but then we get into what directly links to this game. We get Final Fantasy X. Now, Final Fantasy X is different because Squaresoft had an idea. Okay, they wanted to make a Final Fantasy game. Okay, right, high fidelity, cinematic, like Metal Gear Solid. Everything was to scale. Okay, but in a Final Fantasy game, right? And of course, it's the sacrifices needed to be made game, right? And even I know, for as great as I think Final Fantasy X is, I think Final Fantasy X is an amazing game. Like, the story is absolutely unbelievable, to a point the voice acting doesn't matter. Like, the story is top tier for any media, for the high fidelity graphics and how they wanted to express this world. The world map system that was commonly known with the Final Fantasy games and RPGs in general at the time, that world map system had to go, because it breaks what Square wanted to do. Square wanted to engross you in the game. They wanted you to feel like you went on a pilgrimage. You went on a literal pilgrimage on foot. Okay? And you eventually get an airship, but it's like fast travel. But they really went in on this fast travel. You can go on your airship and everything. So, you know, you can walk around on your airship. You get this feeling like you have a vehicle, even though you couldn't actually fly it. So they did do things to accommodate for this sacrifice that they had to make. Okay, and it dwarfed the other games in scale. Like, it was huge. And I'm waffling on now, as you can probably tell, but this stuff is important as to what happened in this game. Do you understand? Like, by the time I finish, it's going to be a long video. What I just said is going to make you understand why Square wants to rewrite this game, okay? And what the big bad wolf is. What is so scary about the rest of Final Fantasy VII? The rest of Final Fantasy VII is a massive, massive demon to them. Okay? And every game from Final Fantasy X and beyond tells the story as to why. Now, if you're one of those people that do not like the newer generation of Final Fantasy games, but like the older generation of Final Fantasy games, it's because we know that the older generation of Final Fantasy games had really great stories, and the battle systems were pretty cool, and the newer Final Fantasy games have really badly written stories, and the battle systems are a bit dodgy, and we see that as unacceptable in Final Fantasy. Okay, this should not be happening in this series. From where the series came, we understand this. Okay, it's just as simple as that. That any debate beyond that is just a lot of talk. Okay, but that is the genuine reason as to why there is this split in the fan base. Okay, now the reason why Final Fantasy X is considered the last good Final Fantasy game is because it has all of the Final Fantasy tropes in it, and the story is solid. No matter what sacrifices they made, Square creatively made something great from the technical limitations they had. See, because all it is about understanding. It's about having artistic vision, okay, and that artistic vision being within the confines of the tools you're using. Okay, so this is why how you don't make a game for 10 years. It's understanding the tools and understanding your limitations as a creator with those tools. If you've only got a pencil, right, you don't try and make a colorful picture. Okay, right? And that's a bit of an exaggeration, but let me tell you this, what Square do. This game right here, Final Fantasy VII Remake, is Final Fantasy 13, the concept. Okay, alright, go back and look at the early trailers of Final Fantasy 13. Okay, go back and look at the early trailers of Final Fantasy 13, and you will see that this is what they tried to make. This game right here is what they tried to make way back then. Okay, and they didn't have the tools, right? They were trying to build tools first and still try to make this game on that technology. Okay, and that is why you have this empty game, right? Because Final Fantasy 13 is what was the resolution, okay, to the problem with Final Fantasy 12, and Final Fantasy 12 had a problem too. Final Fantasy 12 is also a great sacrifice game because it had a lot of battle mechanics, a lot of freedom Okay, it was very open. It had the illusion of a gigantic open world. Okay, but the story was nothing compared to Final Fantasy X. Like, if you compare those two stories, Final Fantasy 12 is terrible. It's like it's not even from the same team of, like, it's not from the same house. All right, it's like it's not from the same series of games. Right, like it's the first Final Fantasy game where the story takes a back seat to the game, and it's not one with the game. It's just attached to the game. Okay, and Square noticed this also, and they realized that the formula that is going to work in the future is the Final Fantasy X formula. But but we all know the technical issues with Final Fantasy 13. It's this: your vision must match your tools thing. Okay. Anyway, it's really simple stuff. Okay, so as you could see, the Final Fantasy 13 never worked out, and criticisms happened. Okay, the corridor thing was now this big no. Okay, so when it came to 15, right, the true sequel, right, to a mainline Final Fantasy game, that's a single player, right, they had this problem again. They think that we want this open world, so they gave us an open world, but the story suffered greatly, and that's a whole story unto itself, because that game is vision, creative vision versus the tools you have, the game, right? And that tells us a tale all on its own. But when I made my Final Fantasy VII expectations video for the remake, I touched on something that was gonna be a problem for the future of Final Fantasy VII remakes after this game, and I was in fact, I'm going to play the clip right now. The second thing is, the reason is that Square just isn't ready yet as a developer. They have a huge problem and on their hands with what they have chosen as an art style in the last decade plus. That art style, how does it meet making a Final Fantasy game? And it has always been a problem. It was the problem with Final Fantasy X, okay, right, which is how do we make a Final Fantasy but maintain super high fidelity, everything's to scale, almost realistic looking stuff. How do you do that? And the answer is you can't, right? So what Final Fantasy X did, they just made the game linear, and even though you could go onto your airship and everything, and explore your own airship and go from place to place on your airship, you just couldn't fly it because it would be impossible to fly over that world, and that is a problem that they're going to have in Final Fantasy Remake 2, especially in Final Fantasy Remake 3, when you definitely should have an airship. Okay, we should be moving around on an airship, and we're going to places that we've already been, so we need to navigate that. How we're going to do this, right? So they're going to have to change a lot, right, to accommodate for this. Now, I have recognized this in the Final Fantasy series for a very long time. Okay, that I'm sure you know what I'm getting at now. They are petrified of the openness of Final Fantasy VII. It's crazy. Think about what happens in this game. Okay, you leave Midgar, you go to Calm, you travel across a massive, okay, so allegedly, okay, that's what the game is trying to portray in your mind, this landscape, until you get to this barren this farm that's in the middle of nowhere that got chocobos, and you're gonna need a chocobo to cross a marsh where the Midgar Zolom rests. Okay, then you go through some caves. Okay, you get out of those caves, and you gotta head to Junon. When you head to Junon, whatever, however you pronounce it, you've now gonna cross the sea to the other island, and so on and so on. You know the game, okay? And all of this crossing and stuff, that's gotta be places you can go back to and travel at will, okay? So you've now got to be able to fly across that sea, okay, back to the cave that leads to the Junon area and everything. You got to be able to do all of that, and they are petrified. Now, when I said that they have to accommodate for this aspect of Final Fantasy VII, I thought they're going to have to accommodate for it technically, okay, right? Maybe it will play, the events will play out, but the way they play out and stuff like that, it's not going to be the same. You're not going to be able to just, you know, skip across the sea, sail across the ocean, etc, etc. But Square Enix are so afraid of the work, or, you know, they know what, you know, their abilities are. They know where their strengths are now, and that is too much for them. So what they're going to do is, what I presume they're going to do is well, we've already seen what they're doing. They're going to write their way out of it, okay? They've literally just, the ending is just to let you know, we are going to continue with this game, with this series, because have you noticed that the ending is kind of like it could have ended at the same time? So it's like, we're going to carry on, but you know, don't expect that game. Don't expect us to continue to remake this game, because we feel that we cannot. So you're going to get something else, right? And this is turning into quite a long spout, because I just want you guys to understand, right? Anybody who's watching this, right? Because the only people that are going to watch this are people that are concerned about this, and you're gonna have to dig through, because I'm not in this algorithm, I'm telling you, okay? So if you find this video, you're definitely having a look, you're definitely questing for what is going on here, okay? And yeah, this is what's going on. It's all about artistic vision and development ability, and you gotta remember the artistic vision for this game is old, okay? Like, you can't pull a fast one on this one. You can't Final Fantasy 15 this one. So let's talk about why having this new story, you know, having a lot of creative license over the Final Fantasy VII story is terrifying, like absolutely terrifying. Right, so let's actually talk about this actual ending, okay? Right, so, well, the aspect of the game that isn't good, because let me tell you something. I've been talking for a long time. This game is actually good, right? I'm gonna state that again. This game is a good game. If I was to score it, it'd be something like 8.5, easy. Right? It's a good game. The scary thing about this game is the future of this game, and the future of this game is in the last hour of the game, okay? And this game starts to get rocky when Red 13 appears, and it's just not Red 13, okay? So anyway, what the first problem you think about this game is, okay, these entities that are in the game, okay, the Arbiters of Fate, which lets you know that it sucks because the name sucks, okay? Somebody is creating something and it sucks. The name sucks, okay? These entities are clearly an allegory for us, the observer, or people who have played Final Fantasy VII, and the developer directly. And if you're watching this video, you know what I mean, innit? And and you know that, you know, when you was playing this game, you was like, oh my god, I hope these things don't suck as much as they actually suck. But then halfway through the game, you're like, okay, they're not that bad. I can live through this. But then at the end of the game, they're like, I'm going to take everything you've done in this game and literally take a crap on it, okay? Alright? And it's like, oh, these things actually did mess with this game in the end, like a lot, okay? And it's because they're the one thing that is consistently new Square, okay? There's nothing about that whole paradigm of the Arbiters of Fate that exists in any of the old games. Nothing is faceless like that, right? And this is where you get the whole, this is Kingdom Hearts thing that people are saying. Well, of course it's like Kingdom Hearts, right? It's just terrible writing the game, okay? Right? As fun as those games are, I've played a few Kingdom Hearts games. They're pretty fun, and the Disney aspect is awesome, but it is terrible writing the game. So we have Tetsuya Nomura, Lord help us, and you know the creative minds at Square Enix in charge of this second part of Final Fantasy. And this is the crazy thing, right? This is something that is in the game that, to me personally, is terrible because it just lets you know what's going on, okay? Red 13 right, so I know this sounds petty, but Red 13 seriously just wants to go home. That motherfucker, that lad right there, does not care right now, okay? He's with the party to go home, okay? He's been in a lab for ages. That lad wants to go home, right? That's the whole reason he's there at this point. There is so much resolution and character building to come before he even gives a flying damn about this planet right now, okay? At this point, Red 13 wants to go home, and he has doubts about who he is. Anybody who played this game knows what I'm talking about, right? Anybody who knows the character. A lot of people say, oh, they like Red 13. If you like Red 13, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, the guy wants to go home, He should be skulking in the corner. Okay? He's not running jokes with Barrett in the back of the truck. Do you understand? Like, something's off. Okay? Like, this is the type of writing we're talking about. Because it's the type of writing where you're not thinking. Like, what am I going to do next? You're not thinking. Now, for Red 13 going forward, they have to change everything. Okay? Absolutely everything. Like, the reason, like, because now he doesn't want to go home. He needs to save the planet. The whole, everything about him, you get me, the resolution with his father, that has to be worked differently. And you're gonna think, who is going to work this differently? Okay, like, because Tetsuya Nomura couldn't write himself out of a paper bag, as exhibited in the ending of this game. The ending of this game is terrible. Like what I said about Kingdom Hearts earlier, it's that aspect of Square Enix. Just terrible, dismal penmanship, disgusting writing, like almost like a child. Okay, oh my goodness gracious. But it's really bad. Characters are just flying out of the woodwork, resurrecting. Biggs is just in the bed at Eris's mum's house. What? Like, it's crazy. Like, you have to see that stuff to understand. Zack's defeating the Shinra soldiers and not dying. Okay, so we can only hope that is an alternate dimension that we do not go back to. We've just created that world, a time split. And the fact that time splitting of any kind is in a major story, a major Final Fantasy story, lets you just know how bad things have gotten when it comes to just writing a good Final Fantasy story. So, before I go back to regular scheduled programming and play my fighting games, I'm just going to say this. The Final Fantasy X formula is the Final Fantasy formula that works for expressing storytelling in a Final Fantasy game. It's the only way where you can get all of that high compact storytelling into a video game. You can't do that, right? And remember, it's all about the art style as well. They don't want people to be standing there like statues just having a conversation like The Witcher, right? And you don't really care about how intricate the animation is in comparison to Final Fantasy VII's animations when playing The Witcher, because it's not about that stuff. This is what lots of RPG developers understand, right? If you want to make a big game, you have to suspend belief. Okay, you have to make it so it looks like an RPG at times. It's rickety like an RPG at times, because that's the quirk. Square, however, don't want to do that, right? Square will rather do this. Let me give you a perfect example. In Final Fantasy 15, you have to fight the Leviathan summon. Okay, they developed this whole battle system for the main game, but when you fight the Leviathan, they want the Leviathan fight to be pow pow pow. So they're gonna throw the actual battle system out the window, and like that Leviathan fight absolutely sucks, right? It's terrible. It doesn't even make sense, but it looks cool, and that's what they cared about. They threw the actual battle system out the window, so you're not actually using the real battle system. It's like a mini game, okay? And you're now fighting Leviathan just so Leviathan can look cool, not so you can enjoy the game, right? not to show off the intricacies of this battle system that they've created. No, they want a visual spectacle, and that type of stuff is destroying Final Fantasy. And the Final Fantasy X formula saved this game, right? Can it save Final Fantasy VII Remake 2? Only time will tell, because we don't know what formula they're going to use. And trust me, if it is in any way open world, Square do not know how to make open world games that are Final Fantasy. There's going to be some major cutbacks, because they're going to want the grass to be pretty. Okay, they're gonna be animating the grass for a year. Okay, that's how silly they are. Okay, right, just stupid things instead of making the game. Right, that is the problem. Good luck to them. Right, and you know, I thank them for this game. They did parts of this part of the Final Fantasy VII story a lot of justice, and by sticking to it, like, as no matter where it deviates, it sticks to Final Fantasy VII and it makes it interesting. Okay, will they have this crutch in the new game? We'll see, because it's still going to be Final Fantasy VII. Thank you for watching, people. I hope you understand what's going on. Take it easy, people. Peace.